Hello, everybody. Recording is in progress, and you are in outer space with Laura Victoria Ward in a Zoom room with a very small class today. So if you'd ever like to join us, please feel free to reach out to me at lauravward.com, and you can join us. Yeah. So I was thinking a lot about breathing and breathing in the dimensions lately. So I want to work with some really what in terms of Laban one-dimensional breathing, and then some two-dimensional breathing. But in reality, all breathing is three-dimensional, no matter what. But we're just using the Laban language for one dimension, meaning we're really focusing on one and then another. So we're going to start with, and all of this, well, not all of this, for right now, we can do this either seated or standing or even laying down. But when we talk about vertical, if you're laying down, it's the head-tail relationship. And horizontal is the width of the body. That could all be different. Just for the sake of argument, we can use different keys for where the vertical, horizontal, and sagittal are. But for now, we're just going to use the head, tail, the width of the body, and then the forward, backward of the body. And after we do this, I really want to play with the A scale, which is also using the planes, jumping from plane to plane. And I've got the, I'll just show it to you. I've got the motif for the A scale on the left and the right. And it's okay if you don't read the motif. I actually did it so I could read it because I want to play with things going forward and things going backward. Hey, Paula, nice to see you. Yeah, so we're just going to start with breathing. We're just getting going here, and it's recording. But it's spotlit on me, so hopefully I'm not recording everybody else. And I recommend that you guys are on gallery view so you can see everybody. I think it's better than just having to look at what I'm doing. But if you're one of those people that really needs to see the teacher, that's fine too. As you can see, I have this is like when I had my winter rabbit suit. This is my summer onesie. So I know it's good. It makes me happy. It's bright. And it's like coming up on Pride. So these are the Pride colors. All right, so let's pretend that we're breathing, and not just pretending, but actively breathing into the up and the down of our body. So breathing into the vertical dimension. And it may be helpful to use your hands as you inhale and exhale, or not. It's entirely up to you, but we can just inhale, growing up and down at the same time, and then exhale, coming back into ourselves. So we're not inhaling and trying to leave the ground. We're inhaling to heaven, and we're also going down to earth at the same time. So that this is this bidirectional breathing. Inhale, getting longer, and exhale, shrinking back in. And I'm just using my hands to show it. Taking out as much of the side and the forward backward, and really tuning it into the vertical, up and down, vertical dimension, like we are a line. And you don't need to go exactly the same as me. If your breathing is a different tempo, that's fine. And then take out the hands and just see if you can do it with your imagination. You can close your eyes or leave them open, whatever feels good to you. Breathing down into your pelvic floor, breathing up into the crown of your head, or even imagining breathing beyond that, breathing into the soles of your feet, breathing beyond your cranium. So we're lengthening and shortening. And then we're going to go with the width. So breathing, and I'm going to add my hands to it. And you could do it this way, like you've got the chi ball getting bigger and smaller, or you could fine line it, whatever works for you, or no hands at all. But thinking of the whole width of your body. So it's not just here in your ribs, but it's your hips getting wider, your shoulders getting wider, your ears getting wider. Just imagining that your whole body is spreading and widening, and then narrowing back into itself. Widening out, side, and narrowing back in, trying to take out the up, down, and the forward, backward, and just go as purely into the side as possible. And if it becomes too effortful or too much work, just take resting breaths whenever you need them, or just use your imagination and your body can do whatever it needs to do. Let's do a couple more with that. You can take the arms out or not. Breathing into the width and narrowing back in. Good. So I find that if I really exhale, it's a lot easier to breathe in. So I'm trying to exhale everything out. If we were adding sound or theta breath or something, it might make it easier, but we're not going to do that quite yet. Now we're going to go to the front back, the sagittal. So breathing, if I was sideways, I'm breathing into the front and back, and then coming back into myself. We call it bulging and hollowing, which I don't know, the word bulging just is a funny word to me. So moving forward and backward at the same time, and then sort of coming back into yourself. Taking out the width and taking out the length and just being as purely sagittal as possible. If you want to let your hands go, you can. Breathing into the front back. And maybe it's easier to think about breathing into one direction. Like maybe it's easier to think about breathing forward or breathing backward. For me, this is the hardest one to do both directions at the same time. So sometimes I'll just focus more on the front and then focus more on the back. Yeah. And I feel like I've done like a little too much of this. So I need to just shake it out for a minute and let it go. Let my tongue relax, let everything get easy. So it's not quite so effortful as in trying to make it all happen. So now let's do it just a little bit differently. We're going to kind of make it two-dimensional. And this can be just in your imagination, or you can be trying to put it into your body any way that feels right to you. So let's try to do up, down with side, side and take out the forward, backward. So we're breathing as if we're between two walls, and we can flatten out and squish out and get taller, but we can't move forward and backward. So let's just see if we can breathe into that. We would say breathing into the vertical plane, up, down, side, side. And just feeling what that feels like, if that brings up any images for you. So we're working on breathing in the up, down, and the side, side without too much forward, backward, like we're breathing between two walls. Breathing in the planes. And let's shake that out and let it go. We're going to do each of these, but because I feel like we might lose something if and we'll get Quentin caught up with us now. Did you guys notice anything with that sort of up, down, side, side breathing where we took out the forward, backward? Did the vertical plane breathing? If we were a piece of paper, we'd be breathing like this.
I noticed that what I had to do was tense my abdomen to hold things in. So
okay, yeah. So you had to work to make that happen.
And my core, get my core. It was like doing something with my core.
Yeah.
That happened to me too. Yeah.
I found that even after all this work, that when you said do just the front and then the back, I suddenly could integrate more. I realized how hard I was trying to do it all. And that was a big help.
Well, I couldn't do it either. It's always been a hard one to do that at the same time. And I think when we really integrated breathing, we are breathing forward, backward, but when we're thinking about it, it creates all this extra effort. I just want to say what I felt like. I felt like one of those cardboard cutout people that's like, you know, flat and like trying to get bigger and look like something, but there's no depth. It was funny. Anyway, how about you, Peen? Did you notice anything on that?
I think I was in my head for a while, and I was just doing it, but I will try to really, I don't know what I was like.
I mean, it's a lot to think about, right? Like we're adding all of this conceptualization to breathing, which is kind of bizarre, but I want to keep going with it. So now instead of being the vertical plane, we're going to be the horizontal plane. So we're going to have some side. We're going to breathe into our width and forward backward, but we're going to try and take out the up down of the breathing. So it's like we are expanding, widening, and getting bigger, but we're not getting taller. Cool. Yeah, breathing into the horizontal, side, forward, backward, just feeling what that feels like. Just a couple of breaths there. Take out the up, down. Sometimes it's easier just to think of taking one thing out as opposed to what you're actually doing. And if any images come up, just knock them into your brain for a second or hold on to them. Yeah, let's let that one go. Just shake it out for a second. Let yourself get normal again, whatever that means. Just let it go. Relax your tongue, relax your face. I want to say my thing. I felt like, you know, the sort of stereotypical like 1950s image, or maybe 1970s, I don't know, of like the businessman who's like short and fat and like smoking a cigar, but there's no vertical, but it's just expansive, taking up space in this way. So I sort of felt like that. I don't know, maybe the businessman is the wrong thing. Somebody's smoking a cigar, it's spreading. Anyone else?
Well, I was trying not to do the up and down with it, but then the word celestial gravity came up again. And then I was like, oh, but I like, yeah. So, yeah, I was, yeah. So it's almost impossible not, if you have that word in your head, to not think or not do it.
Yeah. And with that word, like how much celestial gratitude does the businessman have, right? Not much, probably. Like they're here in the material world spreading, not, you know, it's not high-minded ascension or, you know, groundedness. It's like expansion. I don't know. So I feel like those things go together. What about everybody else? Anything else, Walter? Did you notice something?
What something you said before is I take something out is what I do. Like in this case, I was taking out rising up. I just was keeping myself same height and letting everything else expand rather than expanding. I just take out going up and breathing deeply.
You know, actually, also, I just had an image of like a starfish or an octopus, like just, you know, in that sort of horizontalness of water where, I mean, they can go up and down, but it's a different relationship than to the sort of heaven and earth if we're in water. So I felt that that idea of expansion in the horizontal was much more pleasurable to me than the businessman. I mean, I'm being such, it's a total stereotypical, whatever, my businessman image, but the capitalist.
They went together better for me than not doing the bulging, you know, and retreating. Like,
oh, so it was easier.
Yeah, they kind of, they gelled better together, you know, than the first one we did. Like, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
And well, we're also working with this, right? We're working with this idea of how are we breathing and where is it going? So like, I feel like we're getting more savvy, but sometimes it's easier with the two. How about you, Q? Quentin, anything?
The first one, I came in late, so there are probably little things that I missed, but the first one was easier to do up and down without any excess movement. And that might be because you sit up and you sit down and you sit up quite often. The side to side thing was hard to do, or the expansion thing was hard to do without movement. So I decided to move side to side and move my arms outward. And I don't know the specific breaths if you gave an instruction with that, because I know we've done a breath that expands. But once I did that, I felt bigger, and I also felt more relational. I know you said horizontal plane relates to some kind of relational thing. I believe you said that.
I did.
felt-
It's the
felt
we.
Yeah, I felt much more interested in engaging. Like even just thinking about people, I felt softer in my attitude, but I also felt big, like powerful, but not introverted or not wanting to connect, not hoarding any kind of power or size.
Nice. I like that. I like the hoarding power and size. That's what my businessman was doing. Not that, I mean, obviously, I'm just making a huge generalization about this. Like, not that all businessmen are like that by any means, but it's that stereotypical image. Okay, Walter is going to go and enjoy his day. Nice to see you, Walter. Okay. So we now have to do sagittal. So sagittal plane is the wheel plane. So we have up, down, and we have forward, backward, and we're taking out the side. So we're imagining that we're between two walls. And let's try and breathe into that. So forward, backward, and up, down, the wheel plane. Feeling what that is. Breathing in the sagittal plane. So if it was a piece of paper, it would be like this. Yeah, let's let that one go. Shake it off for a second. I have to say, I really liked that one. That one felt really good to me. I was like, boom, I'm centered and I'm in action, right? So here's the I, here's the we. This is like doing or not doing, but I felt like centered and in action, taking out the we. It took out the distractions, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, or ready not to go, but I'm in my power. So that's really interesting. I didn't know I would feel that way, and it could be different tomorrow. How about everybody else? Anything else?
With this, I felt more connection with everyone I see in front of me, or I close my eyes, but I felt more, this was the most connective one for me. So I don't know why.
That's so funny. And it's not that it's going to be, well, because we are right in front of you, right? So like, if, this, yeah.
That one for me reminded me of a cup of coffee and a samurai sword. That's what it reminded me of. Yeah. In a positive way.
Yeah. Bonnie, you got some moves going on down there. The sword. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So let's drop that for a second and let's just breathe like a ball. So we'll do that expansion breath. Let's do it with the breath that we've been doing before. So on the inhale, you're just imagining the whole ball growing big. And then on the exhale, we use Luna breath, which is a slight condensing. I'm not sure if you've done Luna breath with us, Paula, before. Yes, you have. And Bonnie, no. Okay, so let me describe it a little bit. It's like you're hearing in your own head the sound of a seashell. So that sound is coming from just the tiniest amount of sort of, this is a horrible word, but I'm going to say it, clamping in your throat. So I'm going to do a really exaggerated version of it, like this. So like it's similar to Ujjayi in yoga, but you're only doing it on the exhale. But you would now take that down to like, if that's a 10, you'd take this one down to like a 0.001. So it's like, you can barely hear it. So it's called the Luna breath. It's a continuum breath or lunar breath. So we're going to use just a regular expansion breath. You're just imagining growing big, whatever that means to you, the whole 3D thing. And then it comes back into itself. And for me, usually Luna feels a little bit vertical, but I'm going to try and rein it into a dot. So it's like we're going out, away, and then we're going into the center of the circle, which can be anywhere. Just for your thinking. Yeah, you can use your arms for that if that's helpful, which Paula is doing. So we'll do, and I'm going to close my eyes for this and maybe 2 minutes. I'll probably open them again to see if anyone's showing up or check time, but a couple of minutes of feeling that expansion breath, which just means we're breathing out to the very edges of our skin and beyond. And then slight clamp for theta. It takes as long as it takes. There's no time requirement in either way. And then let's just bring that to a close. If your eyes are closed, maybe keep them closed and just tune into what it feels like to be in your body right now. Just letting yourself breathe normally, or eyes are open, whatever. For me, I just feel like I need a couple more breaths in there before I come out. Yeah. All right. So coming back together. Yeah, feeling some space there. Yeah, so let's just have like a little free flow movement, which could be very small, micro movement, or it could be big. So just allowing yourself to, through movement, process all those breaths, letting your body do whatever might be delicious, interesting, fun, nourishing. And really listening into the tissue of your body, or listening to the energy, the pulses, the rhythms, the internal rhythms of your body, and just honoring what those are. Ah. Yeah, this could be big, could be small, you could roll around, you could stand, however you feel called to move, or maybe even not move. Maybe it's stillness. And allowing yourself to kind of bring in all those patterns that we felt in the breath. So we did that up, down, the side, side, the forward, backward, the vertical, the horizontal, the sagittal, just allowing all that patterning of those different sort of energies and ideas and shapes and movements inside to play out in the outer world a little bit more. So you're taking the internal a little bit to the external, or a lot to the external, whatever it is for you. Yeah, and let's allow yourselves to play with, let's allow ourselves, all of us, to play with the ideas of really growing and expanding and getting bigger, and then shrinking and coming into ourselves. So again, it's like we're taking that expansion breath with the Luna out into huge, 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 and then small. So taking that idea of expansion into contraction, or just coming back into center, however you want to look at that. And thinking of really using all the space around you to expand into in whatever way feels good. And then also letting it come back in. So if you were like a star, you'd be radiating out everywhere and then coming into yourself also. So you're radiating outward and you're collecting in the radiation of the world and the universe to you as well. We might say scattering out your rays of light and gathering in the rest of everything that's around you at the same time. So there's this bi-dimensional, multi-dimensional relationship with what is outside and what is inside, allowing what's inside to express its way out, and then allowing what's outside to come back in. So we're filling up and we're letting go, filling up, letting go. Even allowing yourself to change the patterning of your breath. What I really feel like it's doing is sort of cultivating life, cultivating aliveness, cultivating fluidity and fluency. Good. Excellent. Let's let that come to a close, if you're ready for that. I know that I was talking to Michael Richter and he's like, I just wish the experiences lasted longer. I'm like, I'm a speed demon. I move through them. How's everybody doing? Good. Anything to share? Anything you noticed? Anything that came up of interest?
Yeah, with the lunar breath, when we were still sitting, I was so moved, or I had to almost cry because I missed the sea so much. And I was so, yeah, so I'm probably gonna go next week, a week to the sea, to an island, but I really missed it so much. These, almost for me, I always go to the sea and I haven't seen the sea for almost a year. So for me, it's like, yeah, so that was my like, oh God, I can go.
Yeah, nice.
That was similar for me. That was kind of strange. Strokes, swimming, like different strokes, summer camp, memories of summer camp and winning a swimming competition and beating everyone. Memories of being at the beach with my church and having fun with family and friends. So it feels like there's a lot of me, a lot of we, and a lot of social. And they were coming up when you did the radiating thing, like you said, like be a star or something like that. And I was mixing all the different angles and breaths together with the movements. Memories started to flow, and a lot of it was connected to water.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. It's beautiful. Both of you.
I really appreciated the kind of coming out of the breath and then right into the movement. So organic, so natural. It was just, I was kind of just enjoying pure movement. And yeah, but it felt so recuperative. And it's so natural. We wake up, we breathe. Oh yeah, hello world. You know, it was great. Recuperation. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Excellent. Okay, so now I have kind of a really weird thing that I want to do before we get into this. Before we get into doing this, and it doesn't matter, I told you I made those things, those motifs, just so that I would know, because I want to play it forward and backward a little bit. But I wanted to look at these little figures and see what we think. Like, here's something. What do you think the main, like, what is the main pull in this guy's body? Where's he going? So if we were to name that in vertical, sagittal, horizontal, what do you think? What do you feel like that is? How's the orientation of his body? Yeah. Spine just
Sagittal?
sagittal, totally sagittal, right? He's got these little things on the top of his back, but he's aimed bang straight forward. So that is like sagittal type orientation. What about this guy?
And his tail goes too, right? The head, the tail, clunk, clunk, clunk. He
Yeah.
goes.
Right. So if we imagined him walking, how do you think he would walk? Yeah, right? Like this. So in the sagittal orientation, there's going to be this like body half. In Bartenia fundamentals, there's a thing called, if we were laying on the floor, this is body half. But the lizard, like moving along, it would probably be going like that. It's not going to walk contralateral like a cat or a dog might, or a human crawling. It's going to have that sideways, one side and then the other. Yeah. Oh, do you need to go too, Bonnie? I think you said you had to go early. All right. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Okay. Yeah. So here's the next one. What do we see in this guy's body? Where is, let's put it so that you can see it on my thing. That's not going to work. Not very well. I just need to stand him on something. There we go. What's his orientation? Where's the main spatial pulls in his body? You can go ahead and say it or unmute. Wait, you're muted. Yeah.
Well, I mean, his neck, he seems like he's going up and a little bit forward.
Yeah. So I would say forward high, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not perfectly like a, well, actually, if I stood him on his feet and his tail would be off the ground, right? He's balancing on his tail, but if this guy was walking, he would not be dragging his tail. He'd be there. So really forward high, sagittal with this counterbalance in backward low, right? So just to see that, I have another one. What about this guy? Yeah, it's got all that horizontal spread of the wings. Yeah, and if he was flying, it would be really taking through, through the actual horizontal plane. But you can see it in his body, that wide spread. Yeah, I feel like when we start to like just put it onto something, it makes it easier. So like here's this rabbit. It's like that, it's, forward high. Its ears are pulling to backward high, like this guy. He's got that little, I put it in front of my head so you can see the back of his head. If he was balanced on something, that would be going up to backward high, right? So he's got forward high and then a little zigzag to backward high with this head bit. Yeah.
So life metaphor, because, we can have the urge to go forward, but we're holding back or something, seeing these figures, like you see, there is maybe a tug back from say the ears, but I want to go forward, Butoh does a lot of that, or Grotowski, these oppositions where we experience them, but it's nice seeing them in animal world.
Yeah, in bodies. I'm like, what else do we have here? Oh, here's a good one. What about this thing? It's a groundhog. It's kind of like a ball, right? It's got a sagittal pull, but it's very like, okay, this is a very earthbound creature, right? It's going to be low. So low on the ground, but we could say with this, yeah. And the other thing, and what does this do? It does this.
It rolls, yeah.
Yeah, it curls into itself and rolls like a ball. So like this, we could talk about its head-tail connection being like this circle, right? That, oh, it gets scared. Anyway,
Right.
Just-
Plus
just-
it goes with your hair.
it does. And that's why somebody gave it to me.
Last year I had one in my living room, a hedgehog. It just came in my house.
Oh,
and
really?
it didn't want to leave. So I was trying to, with an apple, to get him out, but it took like an hour. But this was it was a good feeling to have this visit.
Where do you live?
In the Netherlands, in Utrecht, in the city.
Wow.
Yeah.
The hedgehog there. Wow.
I was in the Highlands of Scotland once, and there was a hedgehog in the backyard, and they like put out a little bowl of milk with some bread in it for the hedgehogs. Like, take care of the little guys. I think it's hérisson in French, le hérisson, the little hedgehog. Anyway, okay, I want to do this scale, so we're going to get moving in space a little bit more. So some of you, have you ever done Motif space symbols, Paula? Yeah. Okay, so let's just go over them, because it doesn't matter if you remember them or not, like, but just because it's helpful, just to conceptualize. And I know that you've been here, I think once when you were here, Peen, weren't you? When we did it? Yeah. And so was, I think Quentin was too. So it goes, we read it from the bottom to the top. And these are two different motifs right next to each other. So this, it's a triangle and it's pointing to the right. So it's right. It's got the stripes through it. So that means it's high. So that's high right. Well, this is my high left. Well, this was, yeah, high right. And then this, it's got the notch on it at the bottom, which means it's backwards. It's colored in, which means it's low. So that's high right to back low. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And then this one is left forward middle. We know it's the middle because it's got the dot in the center. It's not colored in. Oh, we've lost Q, but Bonnie's still here. Oh, now we lost Bonnie. All right. And then this one is colored in, so it's low, and it's pointed to the right, so it's right. Notch is down, so it's backwards. Stripes means it's high. Yeah. This one, the point is going to be, so these are horizontal when we have the middle, and then this, that's pointing to right, right forward middle, left low, forward high, right back middle, left high, forward low, left back middle. So let's just go through it. I'm going to turn around. So you have the same, you're going to be doing the same thing as me. It's probably going to fall down, and don't worry about, just follow my movement. So we're going to go high right. This is in the vertical plane, to back low, sagittal plane, to left forward middle, horizontal plane, low right, vertical plane, back high, sagittal plane, right forward middle, horizontal plane, low left, vertical plane, forward high, sagittal plane, right back middle, horizontal plane, high left, vertical plane, forward low, sagittal plane, left back middle, horizontal plane, and we're back to the beginning, high right. For the interests of just evening out our body, we're going to do the left right away. And then I'm going to talk you through it and just show you a couple of patterns that are within it. So we're starting on the left. We have high left, vertical plane, back low, sagittal plane, right forward middle, horizontal plane. Low left, vertical plane, back high, sagittal plane, left forward middle, horizontal plane, low right, vertical plane, forward high, sagittal plane, left back middle, horizontal plane, high right, vertical plane, forward low, sagittal plane, left back middle, horizontal plane. Oh, I did that wrong. It goes forward low. It goes right back middle, horizontal plane to high left. I'm all bundied because of my left and right. Let's do the left one more time since I messed up the end. So high left, vertical, back low, sagittal, right forward middle, horizontal, low left, vertical, back high, sagittal, left forward middle, horizontal, low right, vertical, forward high, sagittal, left back middle, horizontal, high right, vertical, forward low, sagittal, right back middle, horizontal, into high left. So we got it right. Okay, so what I want to show you, and I can talk you through it, is that there's an order. So if you know what the 4 points of each plane are.
Laura, I gotta go. I'm sorry, I gotta go to work.
That's
I'm
okay,
sorry.
Paula.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
coming.
Bye.
And then there were 2. So if you go from just looking at the triangles, just looking at the vertical plane, you can see it goes high right, low left, high left. So that would be high right, low left, high left. So this is the way on that side that that's always going to go. Yeah. So here's the thing. We start, our first vertical point is going to be here. Our second vertical point is there. Third vertical point there. Fourth vertical point there. So on the right side, it's going clockwise. If we look at our horizontal plane, we're just going to learn the right for right now, but you can see what the theory is. If we look at the sagittal plane, our first sagittal point is back low. Our second sagittal point is back high. Our third sagittal point is forward high and forward low. So we're going back low, back high, forward low. So sagittal is going in a somersault. Yeah. And that's going to be the same on both sides. And then if we look at just our horizontal plane, the first one starts across the body. So we're going to forward left, and then forward right, and then backward right, and then backward left. Yeah, so it goes like this. The first one goes, first horizontal point is there, second horizontal point is there, third horizontal point is there, fourth horizontal point is there. So it's making this circle from crossed to open. So if we, yeah, exactly. So like, once you really know all the points, you can figure it out to put it together, because each of these is always going to the next set of 3. Yeah. So so one is a somersault. That's that. Yeah. And the other one is this. Yes. Yeah. So if we do that on the left, it's going to be high left, low right, high right. So it's counterclockwise. It's still a somersault in the sagittal. We start back low, back high, forward low. And we cross first in the horizontal. So we're crossed, open, open, crossed. So yeah, so you can know either side how that's moving through the space. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot and it certainly doesn't matter, but it's interesting when you know the theory. And I've worked with kids teaching all of this stuff in like an hour and a half class, like all the space theory. And some people, like, depending on how people conceptualize space, some of them can do it immediately. They're like, oh, they can figure out what's going to happen next. And I feel like this is so connected to mathematics. Like it's a type of thinking. Yeah. So how was that for you?
By really doing it, it is easier than to see it on the paper. But I understand it now. But I have these days a bit of a problem with working with the computer. Like a lot of head work is like I
Too mushy.
really like a slow locomotive when I'm on it, then it goes. But the start for me is hard these days. But I don't know if it's why that is.
Well, I mean, this is heady stuff. And like, you don't need to know all that stuff, but just to see how the system functions together, and that like there's sense underneath. There are these patterns that it's working with, that it doesn't matter if you know, it really doesn't matter if you know that stuff, but it's just like, oh,
But all
like, yeah.
all the poses that were presented last week with the yoga, is it lots of them are in the sagittal or in the sagittal?
They
one?
are. Yes.
Are there also ones that I didn't see them all, but
Let's go through the ones that we can think of and figure out where they are.
Okay.
So yeah.
I only did the surrender and the
Letting go.
let go pose, or that's what I remember that it was.
Yes. And I mean, you know, the letting go is the way to the surrender, right? There's the two things. Yeah. So just for context, if anyone's watching this, we're talking about Embodied Yoga Principles and what space they're moving in, or what space they're resting in. So, okay, so I'll talk about the ones I can remember. There's taking up space, right? So what do you see there?
It is the vertical.
It's the vertical plane. Bingo, you're in the vertical plane. Then there's authority pose, right?
Yeah.
So authority pose, if I'm here, what am I in now? What are these arms in?
It's also sagittal a bit.
Well, it's got forward and it's got side and it's got up. So it's the cube. So this is a three-dimensional, right? If you put it in, those are the corners, the two front high corners of the cube. And then if we went with surrender pose, what do you see? It's totally, you're balled up in the sagittal. Yeah. Then there's no pose, which is like this. I don't think it's the same hand. I think it's the opposite. So this is my version of it. Hand right in the center. So that's a very sagittal, boom. Weight 60-40 on the front leg. That's contralateral movement, but we're moving into the sagittal, boom. So if I did it with the same, there's less strength if I do the same leg, but that's a body half pattern. Here's a contralateral pattern, more strength there, you can feel it. There's Transcendence Pose, which is here. What is that? Where's our transcendence going to? If we put it into space.
I think it is also in the sagittal one.
It depends on how much forward we have. We could go straight up and just be vertical, or it could be, so look, tell me which one looks more transcendent.
The last one.
Yeah, so that would just be like straightforward vertical going up to place high. Yeah.
And I remember the resilient one, like this one.
Oh, that was like discernment.
Discernment, yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah. And that is also on one, you go on, you lean a bit more on one side.
Yeah. So I would say there's sort of a contralateral cross-body pattern happening here, because it's not like this. Again, so we're finding, when we find that cross-body patterning, there's like an extra layer of maturity in the nervous system.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And discernment. So it's just to say, like, babies first learn up, just to move a little bit, then there's the upper lower pattern, then there's one side, then the other, then there's contralateral. And then there's adult.
I didn't know that.
And then there's like, what's that?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that. If from the how you evolve, like
Babies,
that.
developmental patterning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so important. I feel like when we're working with systems, like you can see people that have, you know, a preference, right? So like, let's see, there's a person, and in fact, yeah, that walks like this. Right? The two halves go, you walk as a unit, one half and then the other. Right? That is a less advanced patterning than this. Working across body. Yeah. And what they would say in Laban in the movement analysis, and this is one reason, like, people should let their babies roll around on the floor, not stick them in the buckets for long periods of time, you know, like the bucket seats where they're just no movement. Because like that's all brain movement, that's all corpus callosum and the negotiation of moving in space. So when babies are put into those little bucket seats, which I mean, a lot of people, oh, the baby's quiet in there. It's like, yeah, you're shutting it down. So like for babies to roll around and have the capacity, it's so important for their brain development.
Can I have a question on that? Because I was, as a child, I was born, my erectus, or how do you say it?
Fine.
My spine was very crooked, so they put me in a bed that was formed. So as a baby, I slept in one form, and I have the feeling that is had a lot of effect on me in my how I. So yeah, I think it got me to express myself. It takes a long time to express myself, I think, or I missed maybe a part of expressing or moving. And my mother said, "You never cried," and I said, I wish I would have cried, but I was always taking it for granted that I was stuck in this space. So I can imagine that it, of course it helped me that I could move later on better, or that my back I can function. But
Sure.
yeah.
But I'm sure that's one reason, like, you're drawn to my work, is because like, oh, you know, it informs all this stuff. And in fact, my dad had tuberculosis of the spine. He had Pott's disease. So from the ages of 2 to 5, he was in an open air hospital in England on a table, not moving, you know? So, and I mean, he said that if he had any choice, if he could go back and live his life again, he would have wanted to be a ballet dancer. Like he yearned to move, he yearned to dance. And he ended up like playing soccer and coaching soccer. I was on his soccer team. But there's that thing. So you can do this. It's like crawling around the floor, upper versus lower, right versus left, rolling, and then cross body movement, right? You can bring that patterning back in. And remember when we talked about like those crosses, the things that felt challenging.
Yeah, that's good that I can put more, I can do that myself, of course.
Yeah, you can. And it'll be interesting for you to see what you feel changing, if anything, you know, maybe nothing, maybe, but I feel like you're going to be like, oh, once those things become more familiar, it'll change things for you a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you for that makes something for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm going to stop recording. So anybody who came, I'm going to do the annoying thing and tell you to hit like and subscribe if you ever watch this stuff on the YouTubes, and stop.